like a kind-hearted gentleman when I was talking to him. I spent an hour or better talking to him.
Well, good day, my friends. It's your old pal, Jordan the Lion. How are you all doing today? I hope you said great. I'm doing great, but today, unfortunately, we have a sad story about wrestling. Unfortunately, right now, things are kind of developing, but it looks like the WWE superstar wrestling legend Billy Jack Haynes has been arrested for murder. Daze with Jordan the Lion. It begins right now. So the news has kind of started breaking now that actually yesterday in Southeast Portland, the Lentz neighborhood, there were gunshots heard at 9:52 a.m. and neighbors called the police and ended up going into a 2-hour stay in place where everyone in the neighborhood was asked to stay inside. It turned into a standoff, and they weren't saying who the people were inside, but eventually, basically the police showed up, tried to get in the house where the shots were heard. The man in the house refused to cooperate, and so the police actually called in an emergency response unit, which was basically, a big, conglomerate of SWAT team, basically. And so for 2 hours this was going on, and eventually they were able to take the man out of the house without any incident beyond what they'd already had. And when they got inside, they found that his wife had been shot and was dead. So he was arrested for murder. Now, they weren't saying who the people were, other than they had interviewed some neighbors on some local news broadcasts, and one of the neighbors across the street actually said that she owns the duplex they live in, was very close to them, loved them both very much, and was surprised and, was kind of didn't see it coming. And then another neighbor actually said that he had spoken wrestling stories with the man that lived there.
He told me all kinds of stories about old wrestling. I told him how I used to go watch it.
So I think this got people thinking and investigating, and a man named Hannibal TV, his YouTube channel, he goes by Hannibal, is kind of breaking a little bit more of the story, which is that he is good friends with Billy Jack Haynes, and said that this was actually Billy Jack Haynes' house. This was Billy Jack Haynes that had been arrested. And he said that, from what he knew, he said Billy Jack's wife was suffering from severe Alzheimer's, and Billy Jack loved her very, very much. In fact, so much that he quit doing conventions and any kind of signing events for the last several years so that he could take care of her. And so he said that he spoke to Billy Jack and his wife via the phone or text message just about every day for several years. So he was very shocked at this, and he said that Billy Jack's wife has been suffering, but also Billy Jack also has dementia now. And he was in part of that class action suit that sued the WWE for concussion-related after effects. And so this was, this is not news. People have known this, but Billy Jack also had a massive history. You can find tons of interviews with old wrestlers telling stories about how he was always known for being crazy. A major temper. You didn't prank him, you didn't rib him, you didn't mess with him. This guy was the real deal, and he could be violent, and he did not have a conscience, he would say himself. So this is a really kind of fascinating story. Now, what Hannibal has added to, what we didn't know, was that he said he actually received a text message at what would have been 9:15, about a half an hour before this incident took place, from Billy Jack asking him to call him. And he said he didn't get the message, but he said he could fill in people that a little bit of the background story in Billy Jack and his wife Jan's life was that they had a guinea pig, a pet guinea pig that they named Toddster, and they named it after Jan's late son, and they treated this guinea pig like it was their son. It slept in their bed, they took care of it, they treated it like family. And unfortunately, a couple of weeks ago, Billy Jack overfed the guinea pig and the guinea pig died. And they have both been having a traumatic time getting over this. And Hannibal would share that he had received a text message earlier in the week from Billy Jack saying, you know, I know I was supposed to do an interview with you this weekend, but I had a really major emotional time, and I have to try and get myself together for Jan, because I know I have to be here for Jan. And he said that we were having a hard time getting over Toddster. So who knows what has, you know, what has gone on. It's unfortunate that Hannibal wasn't able to receive that call or make that call to him to find out, you know, what was going on, because personally, I'm almost wondering if it was a like a Kevorkian kind of situation where his wife maybe was requesting him to do this, or we don't know yet anything. But as of now, Hannibal's saying that Billy Jack Haynes is being charged with murder. And yeah, just, I mean, it's a crazy case, because we've heard a lot of, not a lot, but several WWE superstars in the past be charged with killing a spouse. And Billy Jack Haynes, you know, he has admitted to, you know, having a bad history. He said himself that he was a hired muscle for drug dealers while he was wrestling. He was very tough. He started wrestling in his late 20s, and apparently was trained under Stu Hart at the Hart Dungeon. Came in with Stampede Wrestling, so that tells you a little bit about how tough the guy was. But he said he was making a lot of money on the side being this muscle, and he said he would get, you know, a contract to break somebody's legs or worse. One night he got a contract to go. They were having some drops, some drug drops that had been getting stolen from locations, and so they were secretly sending him out with a mask and gloves to see who was doing it and to permanently take care of the situation, as he said. Now, he said he actually wrestled King Kong Bundy that night and then went and did this. And he said, now when he showed up, he said the police in this town, it was actually in Arkansas, this was August of 1987, and he said those days the police were kind of in on this, but he said a lot of times, even though they were supposed to be lookouts or they were supposed to be there to secure the drop or whatever, he said sometimes they would steal the stuff. And so that's why Billy Jack was hired, because if they were going to be the ones to steal it, he was going to be the one to take care of them. And he said he had no problem with that. He said what people didn't know about me was I had a rough life. He said I was abused when I was 4 years old. My dad was blind. I don't have a whole lot of compassion for other people, and I don't have a conscience. So he said that was the perfect job for him. And he said while he was out there, he said the police actually, the two officers that came as part of this, saw him and recognized him as like seeing him on TV as a wrestler. And he said so things got a little confusing, and he said so we went over closer to, there was a train track up on a hill. He said we started walking over towards that hill where there was some more light to kind of like figure all this out. And he said all of a sudden we noticed there were two young men up on the train tracks. He said they were spotlighting, looking for deer. And the police officer said, whoa, we have to go get them. And Billy Jack said, well, the drop, nothing's happened yet. You know, nothing's gone on. Just let him go. You know, why do you need to do anything? And he said that the cops said, no, there's not going to be any witnesses. And so he said they actually went up the hill to get these guys. And Billy Jack stayed down there by the tracks and said when they came back, they had these men handcuffed, and they had them over their shoulder, threw them down on the ground and shined the flashlight. And he said, I could see that they were very bloody. The flashlights themselves were bloody. And he said that one of the guys there was already dead. And he said the other one was still alive. And he said, but not long, because they got him up on his feet, and the officer took the butt of the other gun, hit him with it, and that killed him. And he said, and then they took those guys and threw them up onto the train tracks. And Billy Jack said, you know, because I was there, I was an accomplice. And because I was there, they told me to help put them on the train tracks. They threw them up to the train tracks. They told Billy Jack to actually put them in between the rails, and then they covered them with like a green tarp that was out there so that a train would eventually come and run them over. And that's what happened. That was the official cause of death that the coroners put down, was that they had overdosed on marijuana, is what they said, and that they had passed out on the train tracks and got run over by a train. Now, what was weird was that they had, you know, those other injuries, and, you know, there were some reports that even I had seen people said that they thought that there was some bullet holes, so they might have even had been shot at one point, but said that this was basically just kind of swept under the rug and nothing ever came of it. But Billy Jack said that he knew the real story, that was it, and that he was, even though he didn't do any of that, he said, I was a part of it because I helped them move the body and everything else. So he came clean on that. Nothing ever went further than that. But he said, you know, that wasn't the only time he had been hired to do stuff like that. And like I said, other wrestlers said they had heard stories of him being a really bad guy that you didn't mess with, a guy. So now that he's in his old age and is suffering from dementia, who knows what the situation and what they will find, and how exactly this court case will go. But hopefully as things develop, I'll be able to post an additional video or something. But yeah, what a crazy story. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time. Have a great night and goodbye.